Well, I'm checking in a few minutes early, see if people can hear me or see me and things like that. So if you are there and you have the opportunity to say hello on the text message, just type in there and let me know if you can hear me. I think everything's going good this week so far. It's always good to check in early, see who's here, and get set up to go. All right, we got people checking in. Excellent. Can you hear me? If you can, type it in the chat box. It would help me to make sure that I can see you. I'll type in there as well. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks. I'm glad you can hear me. It's always good to know whether people can hear me or not because last week was a little shaky. Last week was a rough start. But I see people checking in. Keith, Jennifer, Jan, many others are checking in. Kobe, Althea, nice to see you here. I think you were on last time as well or caught the replay. I thought I would log in a few minutes early. I am in doing a entrepreneurial webinar workshop here, actually not a webinar, but a live one. And there's a weekend called Rainmaker Summit. And I go around the country, actually in different parts of the world too. In September, I'll be in London. But here I am in Chicago, actually Schaumburg, Illinois suburb. I grew up in Chicago, so I'm from this area. And while my partner is doing the session right now, I told him I had to get away and serve my doctorate students to help them out. So we got a few minutes here to go before we get started. Anytime you have any questions or you have questions now, you can always type them in. I'll make sure that when we get done today, that I leave time to answer those questions. And I hope it's not too loud in the background. That's why I'm wearing my headset on. And that's actually working today, hoping that you won't catch quite a bit of noise from people walking around here. I tried to find a quiet room, but I couldn't do that. So this is the next best thing. How's the weather? Jan says, well, the weather here is hot, but humid. I mean, it was really humid the last couple of days because a rainstorm came in. And, you know, the Midwest is known for its humidity in the summer. I grew up here, as I mentioned. That's one of the reasons why I don't live here. Desert heat in Las Vegas is ideal if it's not by the ocean. So it's the next best thing in Las Vegas when I'm there, as far as that's concerned. But in Chicago, it's overcast today. I don't think we're getting any rain, but there is quite a bit of humidity. I think the other day it was like 70%, like 90 degrees and 70%. So it was quite a bit. See how many people we got checking in. We got a few more checking in. I noticed quite a few people watched the replay. I did edit it a little bit the other day. It's probably on Thursday to get rid of the initial section where people couldn't hear me. I know a lot of people probably dropped out of it because of that, but I'll make sure that this one will be up there as well. Now, this says you are coming in clear with no background noise. Wow, that's great because in this ear, I'm hearing the radio. I'm hearing a couple of people talking over here. So I'm glad that this headset is working as it's supposed to. Jan says it's 110 degrees today in Las Vegas. Well, you enjoy that. And when I left, I turned my air conditioner to not come on very much while I was gone. So I actually saved some money on electricity. Well, it's on the hour. I'm going to go ahead and get started. There's a couple items I want to share in this webinar series. Again, I want to thank everybody who's tuning in for this free live webinar series. For those of you who are new to this webinar series, I know a few of you are either on the live series or the replay. I'm Dr. Rich Schuttler, and I've been doing dissertation work for now about 17 years, helping students to better understand how to get their work done. In this seminar I'm doing, just so happens with entrepreneurs, we ask them what business are they in, why they're in it, and who's their perfect customer. Well, my business and why I'm in this is because I want to help people in organizations achieve their full potential, but specifically to this webinar series, I want to help you. achieve your potential, which is helping you to get through your work so you can graduate. It's not supposed to be as hard as it is, but yet it is in many cases. With a university graduation rate on time about 20%, something's not working right. The complexity of a dissertation shouldn't be as much as what it is, or as long as what it should be. Now, granted, that graduation rate goes up drastically, after the initial graduation date, within 2 or 5 years, and it goes up to about 50%. But still, even 50% of the people who start their doctorate degree finish. Now, a lot of those people drop out along the way. And I've been taking my time to build these series of free webinars and other programs to help people get through their proposal. Everybody who gets their proposal graduates, unless, of course, they drop out because they have to, because they're sick or something like that. But there's no reason why, if you get your proposal approved, you shouldn't be able to graduate. So how do I get you there? How do I help you? And that's what I do. And people ask me, well, how do I do it? I say, well, consistently, because that's what I do. Consistently. All my mentees, graduate. All my mentees make progress on what I call incremental gains. And as I talked last week about some of the dissertation builders or success factors of students who complete their work, is they work on incremental gains of small steps of progress over periods of time, add up to be huge successes. That means a graduate. So I want to encourage you to keep that in mind as you listen to this webinar series or any others I do. Even when I do the weekend workshops, I always encourage people to take that frame of mind. Sometimes people forget even slow progress is progress. It's not stopping. And that's one of the things I'm going to talk about today, is this in regards to one of the dissertation killers, is how stopping and not making progress can be worse than you could imagine. So I want to get right into it. I do 3 business builders, if you will, dissertation builders that will help you, like a business, stay on track and be successful. And so I call, dissertation builder. So the first one is not applying reflective learning. And what do I mean by that? I mean, there's a lot of different things. I'm amazed at how many of my own mentees and other people I work with, if I give them some feedback on an opportunity for improvement, that, yeah, they may fix it in the next draft or in that place, but later they don't continue to make that problem go away. So reflective learning means if you learn about anthropomorphisms because you're writing with them, and I or anybody else tells you, don't do that. Well, don't do that forever. Don't start doing it again later on, because that's not applying reflective learning. The idea is that when you are applying reflective learning, it's like figuring it out and never having the mistake happen again. And literally, this is a problem I see over and over and over. And I've got a mentee right now. He's just starting the 2nd year of his program. And we're struggling a little bit because he keeps making the same mistakes over and over and over. And I'm like, come on, John, what's going on here? We already went through this. I gave you an edit 3 months ago in the early stages, and now it's creeping back into your work. And he goes, oh, okay, I forgot. Well, I encourage you to make a checklist. Nothing wrong with like a checklist, exactly all the things that you need to have or not have in your work. Not applying reflective learning means you're going to get frustrated. Means your faculty members are going to get frustrated. And if you're one of my mentees, Dr. Rich does not like to be frustrated, all right? Not if I don't need to be. And you shouldn't be either. You came to the university to learn. So you have to learn, you have to apply, you have to get better and better and better. And that's the whole crutch of applying reflective learning. Now, reflective learning is a part of critical thinking because we reflect back on what happened. And so if you look at every paper, every draft of your proposal as an opportunity for reflective learning, this is what I encourage you to do. Write down what is it that the faculty member asked you not to do or highlighted something. A lot of times they'll say, well, this word isn't as scholarly as it could be, or how do you improve the academic writing? What phrase could you do or incorporate that would have greater clarity? Okay, well, then you can learn from that, and you can say, okay, well, these are the things I need to have in there. And then you decide how to put it in there and get it correct. And so you don't have that problem again. Now, if Thea says, could it be the lack of understanding on the part of probably the faculty member? Certainly it could be, no doubt. But it also could be that the faculty member is trying to help you understand too. Of course, there's many reasons why things are not as good as they could be. I mean, there's no doubt that some faculty, like students, are more trained than others and less trained than others. We see that some faculty will approve a proposal or a draft, and then another faculty member has more to add on to it. Well, I can tell you, in most cases, when I get a proposal as a committee member or perhaps as a URR, I see it differently. I do research as a business. I am a researcher. Some of these faculty members, the reason they're there is because they're practitioner faculty, because they got years experience doing their careers of being a leader, a manager, maybe in marketing, maybe in healthcare, or they're teachers, or they're superintendents, principals, and vice principals. They're not researchers by trade. I do research in my business, so I know maybe a little bit more than some. I'm not saying I'm an expert at it, because I'm by no means the best of the best. That's safe for other people. But in regards to particularly qualitative research, I think I'm a pretty good expert at it. So I might see things other people don't. But as you look at your work, take it and look at it in three ways. And I'm going to give you, this is a success tip that I talk about all the time with people, even in business. In this weekend workshop, I'm trying to help people who want to start a business or people who are business owners take their business to the next level in 2.5 days. I read books, and I try to read about 10 pages a day in a good book. Now, if I apply my incremental gains philosophy to that, that's 10 pages a day times a year, 365 days times 10. You can do the math. That's about, I don't know, maybe 13 to 16 good books a year. Can you imagine if you read 13 books a year? Let's say you managed to read 13 books, just doing 10 pages a day in your research design. You might be an expert a year from now in that design, don't you think? But only reading 10 pages a day. But reading, much like your work that you're asked to do when you get feedback from a faculty in regards to reflective learning, is you get the feedback and you have to self-reflect on it. That's the first part. Reflective learning means we self-reflect. Now, after we reflect on it, let's just say Dr. Rich says, you know, this is anthropomorphism. And you look at it and say, oh man, again. So then you reflect on it and you realize, you know, you still really don't know what they are. You really haven't looked it up. Or if you did, you don't understand how to transition what it's telling you to your work. So then you have to go from self-reflection to self-assessment. And then the assessment part, you have to realize that's where you look at it and say, you know what, I still need to learn about it. I'm still having this problem in my work. And I'm telling you right now, I have a person who submitted his dissertation to me and his committee member, and I've been having this problem with him for 2 years. And his committee member and I still tell him, you're right with anthropomorphisms, and he just doesn't get it. He says, you know, it's stopping him because he thinks it's minor, it's minutia. He shouldn't have to worry about it. Well, unfortunately, he decided to go to a university that thinks that when his dissertation is published, he shouldn't write with anthropomorphisms. He came to the university to learn, came to get their degree, but he doesn't want to adjust. So now we're at the point where he's at his final dissertation, his final class, and he still has this problem in his work because he hasn't gone to the third phase of self-correcting. Even I told him, look, if you're not going to do it yourself, pay an editor to do it. He goes, well, I don't want to pay the money. I don't have the money. And I get that. Not everybody can afford an editor. I said, well, then you got to learn it. You got to learn it so that it goes away from your work. And even though some of you, I know you're very early in your program, maybe in the first year of your program, you're not even in the second year yet. And you're wondering why I would even be talking about this, because it's unfortunate when somebody gets to second, third year of their program and they still have the same problems in it that faculty told them about before. So they're not applying reflective learning in regards to their scholarly writing or their format. But it also comes into play if you're not learning the content well enough. Now, you may be an expert in management. You may be a great person. You like this transformational leadership theory. But if you don't know other theories, if you don't know how to put things together in regards to a literature review and what critical thinking is, then you've got learning to do. I teach a literature review class, scholarly literature review writing course, where in 12 weeks, they literally have to go from nothing to at least 12 pages of a literature review. And they have to conclude it with a gap in the literature, because that's what a scholarly literature review is. But yet, students don't learn well enough that their writing is not as good as it needs to be at the doctoral level. Their writing is probably okay as a master's degree, but when they're writing about and referring to literature and how authors indicated something, or author said this or said that, that's reflective of lower level critical thinking. So I'll indicate, you know, your work needs to be improved needs to be more scholarly tone, and you need to develop your work in a way that's going to be reflective of higher order critical thinking. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means you go figure it out, right? It means maybe you take a workshop in critical thinking, or you do as I've been telling, and that's why I do these sessions. Is so, you know what? I don't need you to take 2 years to learn how to figure out critical thinking. I'm going to get you to the point where I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. That's why I do these webinars and my sessions and my programs that are available. I tell you exactly what you need to do to get your work done. That's why when people come to my weekend program, they get it straight from me. I'm going to tell them exactly what you need to do, how to do it, get it done, and graduate already. So in the case of critical thinking is, you go to Bloom's taxonomy, you go online, you go to Google, you download the verbs, and you use the verbs to help you better understand and articulate differently, better at the scholarly level. Now, that's reflective learning, when your writing gets better. And nobody's asking for your work to be perfect. Don't expect me to be perfect. Nobody expects you to be perfect. But what we do expect as faculty is that your work's going to get better and better with each draft. Or if you're in a class, that with each assignment, if a faculty member gives you some feedback, that your work will get better the next time. And from that point forward in your coursework, it'll always get better. It won't go back. It's amazing how I teach a scholarly writing class for 12 weeks, and I get somebody really working well to develop their critical thinking skills. Then I see them a year later in a research course, and they went back to the old way. It's like starting all over. It's like, ugh. Don't let that happen to you. Stay vigilant on what you're doing. So that's the first business, if you will, the builders of applying reflective learning. It may sound like it was a killer, because in a way it is a killer if you don't do it. But the builder of success in doing your dissertation, every student who does this well, who applies reflective learning on a regular basis and gets a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, does better, and they make good progress through the program. Another, what I'll call success factors, a dissertation builder, is something very simple. But if most of you, if you're stuck on your proposal or prospectus or concept paper, and I get this all the time. I started a couple people this week on my 60-day coaching program where it's one-on-one. I'm going to help them with their dissertations, proposals. I said, when's the last time you talked with your dissertation chair? Oh, I'll never talk with them. Or I talked with her, about maybe 4 months ago. Okay, so successful students build strong relationships with their dissertation chairs, and to a certain extent their committee, but more so their dissertation chair. My mentees on a regular basis will email me or call me about once a month. Sometimes more frequently, sometimes less frequently. One of my students, Wendy's online, she's been one of the best mentees I've ever had. From the very beginning. She was self-motivated. She did work early. She's been constant at making improvements. She communicates with me regularly on phone calls and in classes and emails along the way. I always knew where she is at, where it's at in her entire program, and she's almost at the point right now. Well, probably this week or next week, she'll be submitting her final draft of her dissertation to her committee members for a final review, and then we'll submit it to the university for approval. She'll pass. Now, compare that to some of my other mentees who I'm lucky if I hear from them once in a blue moon. I wonder why, what's the difference there? Well, in some cases, I'll tell my mentees early on, I want you to communicate with me once a month. Some of them are very good about it. Those who do tend to do better. If you haven't talked with your dissertation chair, and I mean talking on the phone or Skype or something like this, whatever is going to work so you can maybe see each other or have somebody live, not just emails. You need to. And I encourage you to set up a phone call with your dissertation chair at the earliest opportunity and ask good questions. Like, what is it that I'm doing now that I need to be better at? What's one thing I can do now to help improve my work? What are your expectations of me and my work? What's working? What's not working? All too often, you get on a phone call with a faculty member. It's like, yeah, what's going on? Oh, you got to draft a proposal. Good. I'll see it next time. And it was like the phone call was worthless. Write down some good questions, things you need help with. And when you're on the call, purposely ask those kind of questions. And if you need different type of feedback, like you need more detailed responses, or somebody says, hey, this isn't really good, figure it out. Well, you may need help in figuring it out. Certainly you should try to figure things out on your own first. If you can't find the answers by going online, the literature and the textbooks or other books, then sure, ask for more specific help. But the most successful people are those who communicate regularly with their dissertation chairs. I see another comment here. What exactly is the possible types of sources of data? I'm writing my prospectus. I don't understand what is being asked in each section. Okay, and I'll give you a little bit help on that. Usually, that might come from your dissertation chair. It's a great question for your dissertation chair. And not to get off track here, and some of these questions I'll answer at the end. So I'm going to answer that real quickly, is that one of the things I'm doing here is giving you some of those tips and strategies. That's why I have lessons online. Takes you through every heading and every chapter on exactly what needs to go. Like, for example, in assumptions. First, what are assumptions? And then you provide your assumptions. And I give you examples of what goes in there, or even the nature of the study section, 4 paragraphs and what needs to go in each of those 4 paragraphs. Sometimes there's dissertation handbooks, sometimes there's not, that universities provide. But you want to make sure, going back to the lesson of these items here, is have a regular conversation. And when you're on the phone, and if the person says, your faculty member says, well, we don't need a call, ask for one anyway. So I'd really like to get on the phone at least once a month with you. Do you mind if we set up an appointment? Maybe it's the 4th Saturday or of every month or something like that, or the 3rd Tuesday at 9 a.m. or whatever time their office hours are. Communicate, and then communicate just a little bit more. Communication is essential. If you get frustrated with your dissertation chair, which happens often, it's you who have to uncomplicate that relationship. It's your dissertation. It's your work. You're the one who invited that person to be on your committee, unless, of course, they were assigned to you. But either way, they're your dissertation chair. It's your dissertation. You must take responsibility and accountability for your work at all times. And I can tell you, if you're feeling frustrated, that's a sign to you that says it's time to get on the phone. It's amazing. You'll call your friends, you'll text your friends from halfway around the world, but you won't do the same with the dissertation chair who's trying to help you be successful and graduate. Oh, don't let that happen to you. The third area of business, and I call it business, I keep saying business because business is on my mind, but dissertation builders. And this is the same thing in business. And I tell these people the same thing I'm going to tell you. It's amazing. The key business success factors are pretty much success factors for doctorate students. It's not much different. Matter of fact, some of the best doctorate students also tend to be very successful in starting their own businesses because they got that entrepreneurial mind. They take full accountability. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to consider is a minimalistic approach. Don't do a minimalistic approach. Even in your coursework, it's amazing. I teach class and it says submit 12 to 15 pages in your literature review. I get one that's maybe 8 pages. You think they're going to do well? No. They submit 75% of the work. I start grading at 75%. It's that simple. So if you're supposed to turn in 12 pages, you turn in 9, you turned in 75%. Instead of starting at 100%, if I have to make a deduction for other things, I start at 75% and take away from there. You should expect that to happen if you don't do at least the minimal work. Now, there's different types of dissertations. I was very fortunate a couple of years ago to work with who is now Dr. Joseph Hagee. If you listen to some of my other lessons, particularly if you subscribe and download all my bundle chapters, or you get involved in my 52-week program, I give examples from my mentees. And I give examples like, for example, Joe Hagee's dissertation. Now, here's somebody who did not take a minimalistic approach. He won Dissertation of the Year for quantitative study. His work is in-depth, reflective of higher order level critical thinking, is rich in research and in its findings. He did not take a minimalistic approach. Even in paragraphs. Now, I always tell people, you should have 3 to 7 sentences in a good paragraph. Why? Why would Dr. Rich say you need 3 to 7 sentences? Well, 1 and 2 sentences is not a good paragraph. You can't really give a topic sentence, give enough information on any single topic in 1 or 2 sentences. So here's a chance for you. If you're reflective learning, you should never, ever have a paragraph that's less than 3 sentences long and no more than 7. If you do, you're probably not designing your work well enough. If you have too many short paragraphs, even paragraphs of 3 sentences each that come one after another, you create a choppy read. You create a choppy read. Why would you do that? Or if you have these long paragraphs, they're all 7 sentences, then it's a long, laborious read. There's no reason for a paragraph to be the whole size of 1 page of paper. Now you have to find a balance. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 6. And even if you're trying to figure out how should my work flow, make sure there always is somewhat of a difference in paragraphs, that they're not all 5 sentences. But a minimalistic approach means that you're going to do the bare minimum. Now, success in business, in life, as well as in your dissertation, does not come from a minimalistic approach. There are a lot of dissertations out there that are not worth anything. And there's some dissertations out there that other people will read and learn from. You get to choose what kind of dissertation you want to do. And just because you have 70 pages in chapter 2, and you know who I'm talking to right now, does not necessarily mean you're going to have a significant, substantial dissertation if it's not well developed and well put together. If it's informative and it's all focused, which it probably is, then that's a good thing. But just for a mere fact that you have so many pages doesn't make it great, doesn't make it significant, doesn't make it substantial. It's the quality of work. It's the alignment of the work. You want to indicate what you're going to do with your research method and design. Tell us about that design. What is it? Are you an expert in it, or you just barely even know it, right? A lot of students have no clue beyond the basic application of how to do a phenomenological study or a case study or a cause and effect like I did in my dissertation, or correlation study. Oh, I only need 1 independent variable. Well, why wouldn't you have 2 or 3? I don't want to have that many. I don't want to do that many statistical testing on 3 different independent variables. I just want to do 1. Like, well, why even do your dissertation on something that's going to be so minimalistic? Or if you had a couple extra questions, what's it going to take you? The difference of 30 minutes, 2 hours to do the analysis and write the chapter a little bit differently? Don't take the minimalistic approach. The dissertations of the year, and every university that I'm aware of picks a dissertation of the year for quantitative, qualitative, and mixed method study. So if you're doing a qualitative case study, why not look for the dissertation of the year from your university for the last couple of years and see how they did it? Look at the breadth, look at the depth, look at the scope of their work. They were really producing something that was significant, substantial. Now, I can tell you in the case of Dr. Joseph Hagee, he used a survey called the LPI, Leadership Practice Inventory. Now, one of the founders of that and authors of that is Barry Poizner. Now, just so happens that this student knew him. Barry Poizner is a world-renowned leadership expert from the book called The Leadership Challenge. You may know that, Coisy and Poizner. He was able to get him on the committee. He was able to get him on the committee as a 3rd member. That was a joy for all of us to work with an expert at that level on a dissertation. I was the dissertation chair. I was fortunate enough to be on that committee. This student put together a great dissertation. That's why I got the dissertation year. There was nothing minimalistic about it at all. He took every heading and every section and built upon it. You knew exactly what you're going to read, what happened, how it happened, and why it happened. You want to talk about excruciating details in chapter 3, he had it. And that's what you need to have in your work if you really want to do well. And this is the problem that happens with some people, is that they say, I just want to get done. They get so frustrated, particularly if you've been in it a while. But you may find if you go into it sooner with the idea that you're going to truly produce something significant, substantial, that somebody will actually use and somebody other than your family will read, you won't have to worry about this minimalistic approach. Now, not taking the minimalistic approach is a success factor. Just do it, go into it, say, I'm going to do the very best I can. If I can look at a couple different variables, have a better interview question, do a field test. Some people say, I don't even want to do a field test. That's going to take time. I just want to get done. It's like, but your research questions don't align. So here's a real life situation. Unfortunate as it is, and I may have mentioned it last week, is that I'm reviewing a proposal at the university level, and it comes in with lack of alignment between the research method and design, the research question, and the interview question. How it ended up that way, I don't know. Doesn't really care. It doesn't matter. At that point, it is what it is. We just need to make it better. So send it back. Person gives me a call. We have a discussion about it. It's getting better. No doubt. A better understanding of the expectations is what was needed. So if you're in a situation you need a little extra help, you get on the phone with your dissertation chair and you find the help that way, right? Because that goes back to the other end. Regularly communicate. You get feedback. You don't understand something. You also have to know what you don't know so that you can learn what you need to know. So the 3 business or success factors for dissertation development also happens to be: don't take that minimalistic approach, apply reflective learning, and communicate, 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 and communicate a little bit more with your dissertation chair. So now we'll talk about some dissertation killers. I could probably do these killers and probably have a whole series on. Matter of fact, I was thinking about doing a video on, like a satire of dissertation killers. Maybe get somebody who's a cartoonist and come up with some of these things. It'd be like Dilbert. Remember Dilbert? I could probably have a whole series of those on dissertation killers. But the only problem is the only people that would get it were people in doctoral education. But maybe I can include some thesis ones for master students. Who knows? Maybe it's a new product. Maybe it'll be my next ebook, right? A comic book. So dissertation killers. The first one is start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. Some people work on their proposal for a couple weeks, then they'll take a week or 2 off, and they'll say, "Oh, Dr. Rich, I didn't have time." I say BS to that. You don't have time. You had time to enroll. You had time to make it through all your content classes. You know what? This is a project, your proposal is so big, your dissertation is so big that you can't stop. If you put it down for too long, you've got to reframe your mind, get back into it. You lost your train of thought. I'll tell you, when I did my doctoral dissertation, I try to tell my committee, my mentees to do the same. The committees I'm on, and everybody, even you, is this incremental gains, small steps of progress. I did my dissertation 1 hour a day. I did my whole doctorate program basically 1 hour a day. Some days certainly I did more, but it was a minimum of 1 hour a day. For me, I was working a full-time job when I did my dissertation. I was still in the Navy. I worked in the evening from 5 to 6. Anytime between 4 and 6 was my ideal time for me to do my work. I already had my day work done. My day job was done. I had already been to the gym. I wasn't too tired yet. 4 to 6 is a time for me to write. I knew exactly when is time for me. Even when I write my books, it's still that 4 to 6 because all my work is done. I'm not stressed out. I'm getting ready maybe to eat, so I want to get done. And you know what? I just find that works for me. You need to find out what works for you and time-wise. But I did 1 hour a day. So every time when I came back to work on my work, I knew exactly where I left off. Now, maybe on some days, what I'd like to do is wherever I left off the day before, I'd go back maybe to the beginning or a couple pages before where I left off, and I'd proofread it, make it better, apply my reflective learning, and look at how I could then move that content to the next level that day for that hour or more that I'm going to work on it. But I never forgot where I was. It really baffles my mind when I talk with a doctor student in proposal work and say, "Well, where are you at?" Well, I'm struggling with chapter 1 and chapter 2. I'm working on this. That isn't quite well done. In chapter 3, I've got a couple sections worked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a disaster. You ain't going to make any progress anytime soon because you're all over the place. You need to work on one section at a time, not the whole chapter. And don't be working on 2 chapters at once because they're so different. You'll be messing yourself up in your head. And so you'll only frustrate you. Right now, as I work with the people I'm working with in this 60-day coaching, I work on one heading, one section at a time. I talked about this last week. It goes with that incremental gains. Is, you know what? Let's not worry about 22 pages in chapter 1. How about we just worry about 2 paragraphs in a problem statement? How about we just focus on 4 paragraphs of the nature of the study section? How about we focus on just 4 paragraphs of the significance? You can write 2 paragraphs. You can write 4 paragraphs, but you can't write 21 pages all at once. You write 2 paragraphs and 4 and 4 more and 2 more and another one here, another one there. All of a sudden you have 22 pages of chapter 1. So as you look at your work, you can't get to the point where you stop it for a period of time. If you do, you're going to struggle. And in some cases, people stop working on it for a week. They say, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. Or like, oh man, I got to go figure out where I started. It's too hard. I don't want to go back and do it. So they delay it even more. Then they wonder why they're paying for another quarter, another semester, and they're not making any progress. If that's you, and you're in your proposal stage, you finish your content courses, you want to make sure it doesn't happen to you, then you need to come to Phoenix next month. You need to be there on the 20th and 21st, and let me help you for those 2 days, tell you exactly what needs to go in each heading and each chapter, 1, 2, and 3, how to put it together, how to align it. So when you walk out the door, you know exactly what to do. You have a game plan. I set people up for success. So when they walk out the door, they know what they're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. Then I'll work with you and I'll follow up on that with you. I'll ask you to send me emails. Send me drafts of your work when you get it done. The workshop doesn't end at that weekend. Matter of fact, I decided to throw in all the extra bonuses that I have of my bonus webinars to the people who are there to help them stay on track. I also offer the whole bundle at 50% off. So when you leave, if you don't have the bundle, you'll then have the 58 lessons that you can watch over and over and over to get your work done in the whole dissertation, chapters 1 through 5. So you know what? There's no reason for you to not be more successful other than your own barriers and your own walls that you put up that says, I can't do it. It's too hard. Like I hear all these excuses all the time. And I'm saying you all have these, but these are things that are dissertation killers. Starting and stopping. Just stay on the same path. An hour a day, even if it's a half hour a day, even if it's at lunch at work, before you go to bed at night, when you wake up in the morning, before the kids get up, whatever it is, put in some time and make some progress. Little by little, it'll add up. Even if it's only 30 minutes a day, that's still what? 3.5 hours over the week? That's not great, but it's better than nothing, right? So the next part is, as far as the dissertation killers, is no thought through in chapter 2. I read chapter 2s that are all over the place. It's like, I don't find any organization. This is what I do. As a matter of fact, some of the programs I teach at some universities are advocates for this, others are not. This is how I encourage people to write chapter 2. And I go into depth on the weekend on how to do this. First come up with a concept map, put that together. I would love to train you on this whole idea, but I can't in this hour time frame that I have with you. That's why I have the weekend workshop. That's why I have the programs I have online. So you know what? If these are things of interest to you and you really want to figure out how to do well, this is what you do. Dennis, a friend of mine now, he was at the first Proposal Power Up weekend. He was still in his content classes. He wanted to be ahead of the game. He was proactive. He came to the weekend workshop. About 8 months later, almost a year later probably, he submitted his proposal, got approved. First time, with comments from the university reviewer saying, this is the first time in over 300 proposal reviews that one was approved with no changes whatsoever. He finished collecting his data, and now he's going to graduate. Again, his dissertation was approved the first time with great comments. This is common with people who come through the programs because they learn. It's amazing that if you understand exactly what to do, you can meet those expectations, and most people will exceed them. And then they have a great opportunity. They graduate feeling good about themselves. They graduate relatively on time, and they enjoyed the experience because they were good at it. They didn't let the system beat them down or get too far behind. So, if you need some help, then that's what I do. And people say, how do I do it? I say consistently, because that's what I do. If I look like that every once in a while, it's because I'm waiting to see if somebody's walking by, it's going to be screaming so I can say, shh. So we seem to be doing pretty good. So the other one I'm going to talk about here. So first one was about stopping and starting. The second, I didn't finish that. Sorry. The no thought through on chapter 2 is create a concept map, then create an outline. Make sure your outline makes sense. Have major headings and subheadings. Your outline should make sense to you, and you should have a couple other people who are experts in your field look at that outline. And the last heading before conclusion should be what? Gap in the literature. It's a scholarly literature review. You're supposed to have a gap in the literature. There's a difference between a literature review, which is here's all the literature, like I often have to do with my clients. They want a literature review on things that are going on. And we don't call it literature. They just want, information about what's going on in that field, perhaps, or in regards to a product or a service, or in regards to research on something, where I just look at what's available and I give them a report. Now, a doctoral dissertation, scholarly literature review, is different in the sense that it has to have a gap in the literature. If you don't write the gap, because here's the basics of a dissertation, and far too many students don't understand this ever, or if they do, not early enough. It's the gap in the literature. From that gap, you create a research question with the intent of when you answer that research question, you fill the gap in the literature. Now, how you're going to answer that research question? Well, you might have to do a qualitative or quantitative research method, right? Or maybe a mixed method study. But you have to decide in that gap in the literature what kind of information is needed to fill that gap. And for some of you, it's going to be through a phenomenological study. For some of you, it's going to be a case study. For some of you, it's going to be a correlation. Depends on the gap you identify. This is how we tie everything together. And this is what I do beautifully. I think I've never seen it done before, and I still haven't seen it done since, that I actually show you all 3 chapters. First, what goes in each heading in each chapter, and then how to tie the whole proposal together. When you get that, you graduate. Simple. So you get the expectations. But in chapter 2, you have to tie it all together. There should be some logical flow. If you're doing something about leadership, it should be somewhat of maybe of a history of leadership that you start out, however you're going to do that. Or if you're going to talk about 2 or 3 different leadership styles, then you're going to have information of those styles, but they should all be related basically the same way. Whatever structure you use for one style, that should be the exact same structure for the other styles, not completely different, because there'll be consistency, a flow. It'll be tying chapter 2 together. Chapter 2 is the hardest chapter to write in the dissertation, as far as I'm concerned, because there's no map for it. You have to create it, and everyone's a little bit different. Chapter 1, it's a step-by-step process. You fill in this heading, you put this information in there. Chapter 3 is the exact same thing. Here's the heading, you just got to fill it in. This is what most students don't realize. Everything's really designed on chapters 1 and 3 for you. All you got to do is fill in the blanks. Of course, you got to know what to fill in, right? What to put in there. And that's the process of learning and educating and reading, that you get that information. If you haven't figured that out yet, that's why you come see me. So chapter 2, though, being so difficult, everybody has to figure out their own framework for that. And it's not about right or wrong. It's about what you put in there. It's logical. And I always tell people, write that outline. Sometimes in chapter 2, as a committee member, I won't even read chapter 2. I'll look at the table of contents. I'll see what that is and how it's designed. But as a committee member, I don't have to read chapters. That's not up to me. It's my role as a committee member, is not talking about dissertation chair, but as a committee member, is to make sure that everything's tied together. I may look at chapter 2 to see if it's tied well and connected to chapters 1 and 3 correctly. But the good thing about chapter 2 is, I mean, that's where we really get to see what kind of an expert you are. Do you really have a breadth and depth of the literature for your area of study that your dissertation is related to? That's what's important. We need to be able to see that. So, don't skip on chapter 2. And I can tell you, it's like Abraham Lincoln, I think, said, if he had an hour to chop a tree down, he'd spend the first 45 minutes sharpening the axe. It's the same thing here. The better you develop that outline, the easier it is to write chapter 2, as long as you stay focused and you don't deviate from the outline. I've had people, they have an outline, and then they start deviating it from it. Or the first heading information is 20 pages, the second heading information is 6 pages. Like, where's the balance? Particularly if you're in quantitative studies, there's a roadmap on how to write chapter 2 if you're doing a quantitative study. It's very simple. Of course, if you don't know that, well, then you kind of got to learn it, right? But that's where I teach those kinds of things in my lessons. I tell you exactly, if you're doing a quantitative study, I have the roadmap to success. And I don't have time to go through it here. That's why I do it on the weekends. That's why I do it in my programs that are available, in case you're interested in them. You can get them that way, or you can figure it out from your dissertation chair. Qualitative research is a little different, but there's still a roadmap. You just have to follow it. So you got to learn that. Once you learn the expectations, what those are, then it's easier to do. And I get it. There's so much to learn. How do you know where to start? Well, of course, you start by communicating with your dissertation chair more, and then perhaps you'll learn that a little bit better. So the third dissertation killer is for those, and this may not apply for everybody, but I've even seen it happen to a certain extent in events where I'm at, like right now, where I got all these entrepreneurs. They pay $2,000 to $3,000 to be here for Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. You think I charge a lot of $600 for Saturday and Sunday? My people I work with, they think I'm insane for having that low of a price. But I said, hey, you know what? I'm not trying to do anything but help these students. Now, these business people here, it's amazing. They'll do the same thing. They'll be here, not all of them, but some will come here and they won't pay attention. If you happen to be a doctorate student at a university that has a residency program, what are you going there for? Get away from your family for a couple of days? What? Are you going there to learn? The majority, I don't say the majority, but there's too many students that go to these residencies. They'll go out partying, they'll stay out late, they won't do their homework, they won't spend time collaborating with faculty and peer students. and they waste the time and the money to be there. So what I encourage you to do is, if you're going to go to a residency, and some of you are paying what, two, three, $4,000 by the time you pay for airfare, hotel, the costs for the course themselves, the food, it's probably easy $2,000 or $3,000, right? Use it wisely. It's an investment that you're doing in yourself. You should be at the sessions, in the evenings, be in the work groups, get a work group together, get a mastermind team together, a study group where you can work with each other, talk with the faculty, go to the workshops, put in time and get people to review your work. Sit down with individual faculty, however many there are. With my mentees, I usually tell them, let's say, for example, at Walden University, my mentees, they go there. I'm a graduate from Walden myself, so I know how to really manage the residencies there because I was a student there too, and now I teach them from time to time. Is that there's somebody there from the writing center, there's somebody from the research center there's an academic advisor, there's 3 or 4 faculty members. I tell students, go have an appointment with everyone, whether you think they can help you or not. They say, well, I really don't need to talk with somebody from the research center. I'm like, what are you, crazy? You're doing a research study. Why wouldn't you talk with somebody from the research center? Help them look at your research method and design and get some tips. Why wouldn't you talk with somebody from the writing center? I mean, you're not that good of a writer. Why wouldn't you, right? I mean, you're not perfect. Who is? So if there's somebody there who knows exactly all the tools, the tips, and the strategies on how to be a better scholarly writer, why wouldn't you talk with them, right? But yet somebody's still saying, oh, I don't have time, I'm tired. Well, why are you tired? Well, I stayed out late last night. We had a meeting over at the pub, and we had a couple beers. I didn't get in till midnight. You know, by the time I got up at 6 o'clock to have breakfast, I didn't get a good enough sleep. So I'm just not going to do much this morning. It's like, and you wonder why you're not making progress, or you won't make progress. You've got to look at a residency as the opportunity to move you from point A to point B in a very condensed, intense manner. You should go in there with questions for each of these people and your work to give it to them and let them review it and say, hey, can you look at this? Every faculty member there has appointments. And some people say, well, you know, I'm in this class with this faculty member, so I'll go see that person. But there's a program chair and there's another guy and another lady who are all experts and all dissertation chairs, but you won't go talk with them. I'm like, what are you thinking? Why are you wasting your money? More than likely, if you don't do those kinds of things, you're not going to get the most out of the residency. It's going to be a waste of your money. Now, how about if everybody in your family decide that they want to waste $3,000 or $4,000 to go for a weekend getaway without you? Some people take their spouses and kids. Well, that means in the evening, you got to take your spouse and kids out because they haven't seen you all day. You're going to go to dinner. You do everything but homework. A mini vacation. Let's go on a residency. Let's have a mini vacation. How about if you just go to the residency, you learn, you graduate, then you go on a longer vacation with your family. So these are some dissertation killers, these things that students don't realize they get into and they hurt themselves. And it has perpetual rollover problems because you don't go to residency or you went to residency, you didn't learn as much. You start, you stop. You don't put the thought through on how to write each chapter, particularly chapter 2. And all of a sudden, you're enrolled longer than you need to. Your student loans are adding up, and so is the interest on those student loans. And all of a sudden, your $40,000 degree turned to $70,000 by the time you graduate. The excitement you had when you enrolled is lost when you didn't get your proposal approved after 3 submissions or 2 submissions, or you never even got it to submit to begin with because you didn't figure it out and you didn't learn. You know, some of these webinars, I get it. They get it. It's like Dr. Rich is on a soapbox again. You know what? I'm here to tell you this is what works and what doesn't work. All you got to do is emulate the success of the students who have done extremely well and start doing them for you. Take the things that don't work for other people or aren't working for you and get away from them. So if this ends up being sometimes like, there's Dr. Rich, he's on a soapbox again, he's kind of beating me up. Well, some of you actually need a good swift kick in the pants. The others just need a little better understanding of what to do, stay positive, because nobody's going to tell you some of these things in the residencies. Now, if I was a faculty member, there's a lot of things I can't say there in a classroom because it's not good. Like I can't tell you that some universities have less than 20% graduation rate that you're enrolled in of students who graduate on time. Now, I can tell you that that rate goes up drastically, but they don't want me to tell you that your graduation rate where you go is 20% because that doesn't sound good for PR purposes, right? But they'll tell you with that, there's also programs, there's opportunities where students can improve and do better, and most do. Those who are focused will graduate. It may take a little bit longer. You know what? I'm part of that percentage too. It took me 6 months longer to graduate than I should have. But I purposely planned that because I retired from the Navy. After I collected all my data, I didn't write chapter 4 and 5. It just happens to be where my military retirement came in. I basically needed 2 weeks to get ready for that. And I decided once I retired, I was going to take 30 days off and do nothing because I was still getting paid because I had so much vacation time. They give a transition on the way out. So I took, at that time I was married, my wife and I, we took 30 days and we just did what we wanted to do. But I was okay with that. So it was my choice. It wasn't like I was beating myself up. I didn't understand, didn't do the work. Some people will stop and they won't start again. Some people will do these things that hurt themselves and not even know it. And so that's part of the reason why I do these webinar series. And I'm glad that those who are here watching this live or on the recording will spend time, because it's you who will probably get done sooner than later, and sooner than those who won't listen to this or take the time out to learn and say, you know what? I need to hear that, because some of these things don't apply to everybody, but some of these things apply to many people. And whatever I talk about today might not apply to you. Maybe what I talk about next week will. Or maybe this week I said something about what you're not doing and you're like, Dr. Rich, It's not Dr. Rich. It's go look in the mirror and figure out, okay, what do you got to do differently now and do better from this point forward? I always thought it's like this workshop I'm doing. I tell people, last night we had a 3-hour session, and we have them do a little self-reflection about what's working for them, what's not, how they get to be where they are today. And we started them on the path of developing goals. Where do you want to be in 12 months? Well, it doesn't matter whatever has happened up until right now. I don't care what happened to you. Even if you're one of my mentees, I don't really care what happened up until now. It's today. It's Saturday. It's July 20th. What are you going to do differently now to do better tomorrow? Not a year from now, not 6 months from now, but you have to start the process today. Here's another top point, and I always talk about this because it's just something I have to talk about all the time, these incremental gains, but it's in regards to the APA manual. I've literally read the APA manual cover to cover. Or if you did, maybe you did because you've heard me before, but students who do not do well in regards to scholarly writing or the APA, they haven't read it. They'll say, oh, I look at it from time to time if I need to look for a quotation, format or something else. But it's really sad that I get somebody at a doctorate level, even in year one, and they don't understand how to put a table or figure in accordance with the APA manual in regards to how to allude to that table or figure in the text and how to place the table and the figure in their work with the number and the captions and the formats for those. I mean, this is basic 101 undergraduate work, folks, not doctoral level learning kind of things. Now, if you've never used the APA manual before because you came from another university or you're in another country perhaps and you've never used the APA manual, well, yeah, you got to learn a little bit. Of course, there's going to be a learning period for you. But when I see somebody who's graduated from a university I know that use the APA manual, like some of you who graduate from the University of Phoenix in their master's degree are going their doctorate degree, same at Walden, same at many universities, because why wouldn't you? You got a good program, you like what's going on with the university, but you don't write well in the doctorate level. There's a little self-reflecting that needs to go on there. Say, you didn't learn something. Somebody let you get by. And now I even get students at the doctorate level. Well, nobody told me about that until now, Dr. Rich, and you're beating me up over in my proposal, Bob. It's like, okay, so now you know, quit whining, go do the work, make it better, and move on. So wherever you're at today, it doesn't matter how you got here. You're here. So how can you apply this reflective learning and do a little bit better tomorrow? As I told you last week, and I talk about this a lot, one person just had a hard time with scholarly writing. So that person then put on a hat, literally a hat, had it by their computer. Every time they put the hat on, it psychologically made them feel like, I need to be a scholarly writer. The person got done with the homework, took the hat off, and went on his way. But it was just that one little bit where that person realized, my hat's on, I got to think differently, got to write differently than I do otherwise. Small tips like that. So that's pretty much what I have for today. I got 51 minutes past the hour. The webinar is live. It's still working. That's good. You can hear me. Nobody's been making some bad comments about me in here. So that's good. I'm going to put this up as I did last week, in case you want to see what's there. you know, I am going to honor this for all of you. And a couple people have taken me up on the opportunity for this. I'm just doing a little moving here of my mouse here so that this could come up. So if this Power Up Weekend is something you're interested in, you know what? It's normally $697. I've been doing or $797. I normally do online. It's a 20% discount. But anybody who comes to my webinars live or you catch the recording, if you want to come, it's only $500. It's a special. The special ended. So if you went online and actually bought it, you would still get the $697 or $639. You know, email me. Just email me. I'll send you the invoice. You can get it for $500. You know, you got $500. If you're falling behind, and if you don't have the money, you want to do a couple payments, you know, you can do 3 payments. You can do 2 payments. You know, I don't really care. You can even do one of the payments afterwards. I'll trust you. If you don't pay, then I'll send somebody out to get you. Remember, I'm from the South Side of Chicago. Or if you got a barter, you got something you want to trade, you know, or tell you what, I told people this last week. I had one person tell me I can't afford it. I'd like to be there. I live in Phoenix. I said, well, how about this? Get 2 people to enroll. Have them go to my website, have them enroll. If you get 2 people enroll, I'll give you, I'll comp you the ticket in because you help me, I'll help you. Well, I don't like to call people and ask them. Well, I guess you really have a lot of excuses on why you can't be there then, right? There's a reason why that person's so far behind. Doesn't want to really get out of the comfort zone to say, what do I got to do differently to get something differently? I mean, if you want something bad enough, whether it's this, get your degree done, start your own business, have a greater, better life, all you got to do is do it and quit whining about it. Find excuses why you can't. Money's not an excuse because it's not an excuse for me to let you in if you don't have it or you need payments or you can barter. If you're a great marketing internet person, you got something you can do for me, you know what? We'll trade. I really don't care. I'm more about you getting there, learning and graduating. You could do something great for me once you graduate, perhaps. So if you got a situation you want to go, I hope you'll be there. If not, and I hope you don't need it because this is the last one I'm doing this year, and I probably won't do another one until next summer, probably in Vegas. So this is the end of August. Next one at the earliest is probably going to be June. So I'm only probably going to do one in June and maybe October next year. The first part of my year, I just don't normally do it. So, you know, if you need in the next year, you're not going to get a better price than this. They've never even offered it for $500, I don't think, before. The other people signed up for it a couple of months back when they went to it, probably like, Dr. Rich, you reduced the price. But you know what? Every day is a different day. You know what? If I see people who need help, I'm going to help them no matter what. So with that, I just want to see if there's any questions here. If you got any questions, I'll look at the chat line here. I'll take a few minutes. A few questions that may have come in already. So Leah says, I heard the APA is coming out with the next issue, the 7th edition. I haven't heard that, but this one's been out now for about a little bit more than 10 years. So it's possible they'll come out with the 7th edition. It's about every 10 or 12 years. I think the 5th edition was around for at least 10 years. So I wouldn't be surprised with that. So all the more reason to get done, right? And sometimes at universities, they'll say if a new edition came out next year, say if you started in edition number 6, then you can stay in that edition to graduate. Or they'll put a window on and say, well, if you graduate in 6 months. So my recommendation is just another incentive. If you know it's coming out, to get done. Keith says, what is your website? You should be able to click on that link. If not, it's www. Coffee. Sorry, not Keith. Coffee says, what's my website? It's www.drrichschuttler.com. And I'll put it there. You can email me directly. You can just go to my website and you'll find a place to be able to click and contact me there. But it's drrichschuttler.com. I'll type it in the chat box in just a second. Let's see what other questions we have here. I'm having an issue now. My advisor stated to them that everything I need is provided in the research page. And many universities have a research page or a research website to be able to help to get people there. And a lot of times it's there, but it doesn't give everything all the time. You still have to figure it out and use the guidance that your chair gives you. Althea says, Dr. Rich, do you believe that every doctoral candidate, in addition to the foundational classes, takes a scholarly writing course? You know, I would not think that everybody needs to take a scholarly writing course. That's something we learn along the way. it's part of the program. It's part of academic writing. It's something you learn. It wouldn't be a bad idea, but I'd hate to see somebody pay $2,000 to take a scholarly writing class. But what you do find in the Writing Center, that there's many tutorials there about scholarly writing that are free. Well, not free. You're already paying tuition, but you don't have to pay anything more. There's APA tutorials there. There's scholarly writing tutorials. There's critical thinking tutorials. The problem is most students say, I don't need it. I don't have to take the time to do it. But you have the time to keep doing your work drafts over and over and over. So that's all there available to you for free. Another comment we have here is, exactly, I have had that experience with another university. Asking for assistance seemed worthless. Now trying to figure out on my own. Well, you know what? If you're asking for help and from a committee member, or you're getting a runaround, you don't think you're being served well, contact your academic advisor, because that's unsatisfactory. University leaders need to know. When I was a dean at the University of Phoenix, if I heard that faculty members weren't helping students or communicating with them as needed to give them the expectation, we got rid of them, or we coached them to do better. So universities are there to help you. You should always, whenever you're having a problem, or if you're not getting the kind of feedback you want from your dissertation chair and you've asked for it, then contact your advisor. Sometimes you actually have to fire your dissertation chair. Nothing wrong with that. If you're not getting the help you need, it's your tuition money, it's your program, then tell them you need somebody else. Sometimes you just got to stand up for it. You're right. Camilla says, what exactly is a possible types of sources of data? Okay, I'm writing prospectus. Different types of data, well, it depends. Quantitative or qualitative, you're going to have to decide that based on your gap in the literature. Let's see, other questions. If you've got new questions or something else, just type them in now as I'm reading the new ones. Althea says, my struggle was with time management with my job obligations. What's my recommendation for that? Find out what's the best time you have available, and then make it happen every day. Or maybe it's during lunch that you do some time, or you literally have to wake up in the morning, or you know what, turn the TV off at night. Now, I don't know how many of you watch TV, or maybe on the weekend you need to go to a library to get away from your family, so you have a little quiet, let them go do something else while you go to the library and you do your work there. Sometimes that helps. Camilla says, I'll be at your residency during August 20th and 21st. Well, I guess you can't make it then. So I wish you could be there as well. But you know what? You're in a residency. Get the most out of it while you're there and enjoy the experience there, but learn as much as you can and make it worth your time to be there and your investment. My advisor told me that everything that I need is in the research pays. My answer to that question, even answers to questions, complete your prospectus. Okay, then they should be. The problem is if you're not understanding it, then that's a little bit different. Every university I teach at, they have a prospectus guideline or a concept paper guideline template to fill in the blanks, proposal, dissertation guidelines. Here's the blanks. And someone will tell you kind of what needs to be in there. But, you know, they can't give a prescription for everybody at every stage and every part of their dissertation because everybody does something different. So you just sometimes have to figure out that, but that's why we have committee members, and that's their role, is to help you understand, you know, how to take the rules of the road and really apply them to your work that's going to fit so you can get approved. Jennifer says, so at what point in the process is your power up good? Well, you know, there's a couple different things, times, and I'm just hitting something that popped on my screen here. As I mentioned, Dennis, he came early. He wasn't even in his concept paper or prospectus yet. He came early because he wanted to learn, be better prepared, because chance favors the prepared. If you're anywhere within, let's just say, 6 months of working on a concept paper or prospectus or on that area, then that's a perfect time to come. A lot of people come are those who actually are ABD. They're done with all their content courses. They haven't been able to finish their concept paper or prospectus. You know, I've had people that have been in working on a concept paper for 6 months and haven't got one approved come there, and literally within 30 days they get the concept paper approved because they learned, they got focused, they learned the expectations, and then they were motivated because they knew that they could get it done. So, you know, it depends. Jennifer, you can certainly send me an email or communicate with me out that way. But, you know, if you feel like it's going to help you to be better at that point when you get to your concept paper or prospectus, and if you have the time, you know, I can guarantee you, I mean, more than likely, the price is only going to increase later. So that's one reason to go. But it's up to you. just decide when it's good. And if you're a long ways away, like, more than a year before you even start working on a concept paper, probably don't need to go unless you just want to be proactive. Let's see. You want to know about sources of data. You're doing quantitative studies for teacher burnout relative to wellness programs. Well, my doctoral dissertation was on cause and effect of a corporate fitness center. Again, the sources of data for a quantitative study, well, they're going to be a survey. Either you're going to have to create your own Likert type survey or use a survey that's out there. I wrote my own survey, tested it myself, tested it for validity and reliability. I went through the whole process. I actually did a mixed method study where I took the quantitative portion of it, wrote 9 Likert type questions and 3 open-ended questions. Let's see. I'm not seeing any other questions come up here. I hope that this has been helpful for you today. If it has, maybe just let me know. If it's been worthless, let me know that too, so I know which topics not to cover. Next Saturday, I will still be in Chicago, but I won't be in a hotel lobby. I can guarantee you that. I will do the next session here. Now, some of you may have gotten an invite or you signed up for my Wednesday webinar. It's about Publish Like a Professor and how to earn royalties and residual income. I'm literally helping people understand how to take what's in their head, their content knowledge, their subject matter expertise, transfer it to perhaps a book or ebook, or how to create a course content of it. Because once you have this course content, then you can repurpose it. You can create ebooks out of it. You can do blogs out of it. You can create courses and sell them on Udemy. You can do a lot of different things with the content in your head if you're an expert, whether it be your career or a hobby. Because a lot of times people want to be able to figure out how to earn residual income, because you can or royalty income. Like, I get checks in the mail from books I've written. That's royalties. Every so often the publisher sends me a check based on how many books were sold, right? So I make money in my sleep. It's the same thing with my webinar series. I did it once and I put it out there. Every time somebody buys it, then I get paid on it, right? A lot of people can do the same thing, maybe not with dissertation stuff like I do for you, but there's other programs out there. So somebody asked me about my website. I'm going to type it in here in the bottom so it goes out so everybody has it. www. I don't normally type with just 2 fingers, but I'm also not comfortable here sitting where I'm at. So hopefully that went through. drrichschuttler.com. Click on that and then look under ABD, taking the B out of ABD. That'll show you everything I have, and there's a click on there for the weekend. Again, if you buy the weekend online, it's at $639 right now. If you want it, just contact me at $500. We'll send you an invoice. Let me know if you want 1 payment or 2 payments. Really don't care. It's not my concern. And there's no extra payment. If you do a split payment, like $250 now, $250 next month, I'm not going to charge anything extra for that. I could care less. Some places will say if you want a split payment, it costs you 10% more because they want to pay for the credit card processing. I don't really care about that. So a couple people said, thank you. Very helpful information. This is inspirational for me. Keep pushing. Thank you very much. I would only ask you that if you found this helpful, do me a favor. Share it with your peers, share it with your colleagues, and let them join in. It's free. I can handle 1,000 people here, Even if they don't catch the webinar live, you can get the recording. Now, in an hour or so, you're going to get a link like you did last week, and it'll be to YouTube. You'll find this on YouTube in about an hour. You can watch it whenever you want to. Even if you watched it live, you can play it back. If I said something you didn't catch or you want to listen to it again, my only recommendation is if you want other people to see this, to send them the link to register for the webinar themselves. Keith says, great information. We'll share it. Thank you very much, Keith. Appreciate that. Let's see how many people we got on the line here. If you got any more questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll be heading back to my workshop here and help people start their business and grow them strong. And if you're ever interested in coming to any of these kind of events like that, I get you a super deal, but do me a favor, finish your proposal and dissertation first. If you find something you want to do something like this, I'll be happy to get you into one of these things. A lot of people, my friends, have come to it over the years and said it's like drinking from a fire hydrant. Kind of, gets them prepared to start a business, or if they already have one, take it to the next level. I'd be happy to help any of you out with any of this stuff, but don't even ask me until you get your proposal and dissertation done, because you got to focus on that first, as far as I'm concerned. But if you want to join that other webinar, you're welcome to. You got the access to it automatically because you got this access to this webinar. So with that, I'll say thanks a lot, everybody, from Schaumburg. And I think I'm a little tired. I look like I got bags under my eyes, huh? I have to get some wrinkle-free cream or something like that, huh? So with that note, I'll say goodbye and have a great rest of your weekend.